So day 2 is all about mixed numbers, adding and subtracting. So the problem I'm going to do as an example is on page 255 of your big math book, number 3, where it says 3 and 2/5 minus 5/8. So here I have a mixed number subtracting from a fraction. So first thing we always ask ourselves is, are the denominators the same? And they are not. So therefore, I need to do my 4 square method to make the denominators the same. Even though this is a mixed number, remember, we're not focused on the whole number until we get to the end. So the first thing I need to do is find the LCM or the LCD of 5 and 8. So I'm just going to go in this box right here. So I'm going to have the LCM of the multiples of 5 and the multiples of 8. Okay, so remember the multiples are just a skip counting. So here I'm going to say 5, 10, 15. I'm going to do the first 5 for 5, and then I'm going to start with my 8s. 8. Okay, so I have the first 5 of each, and I see that I don't have anything in common yet. So I'm going to come back up to my lowest number, and I'm going to keep going until I see if I can find something. So I have something close. I have a 25 and a 24, but that's not the same, so I got to keep going. 25, 30, 35. And look, I ran out of room up here, so I'm just going to draw me a little arrow. Let's say that 40 is right there. And that's supposed to be an arrow, and I don't look. There we go. Now it looks like an arrow. All right, so now I have something in common. I have 40 for 8, and I have 40 for 5, and that's the lowest one that they have in common. They don't have anything else in common. So therefore, I now need to change both my denominators, or both my fractions, to be equivalent to something with a denominator of 40. And once again, over here, we're just going to write our denominator with our operation sign, and then the number 40. Now, since I still have not done anything to my whole number, I'm just going to bring it down. I haven't messed with it yet. So now to find the equivalent fraction, I need to ask myself, what can I multiply by 5 to get 40? Well, that's going to be 8. So whatever I do to my denominator, I need to do to my numerator. So I'm going to say 2 times 8 as well. And 2 times 8 is 16. So this new fraction is 3 and 16/40. And we're going to subtract that from the equivalence of 5/8. So 8 times what can give me 40? That will be 5. And whatever I do to my denominator, I need to do to my numerator. And 5 times 5 is 25. So now that they have the same denominator, I can subtract. Now, one thing to keep in mind about this is that we're going to subtract as we would normally subtract regular numbers. We're only going to look at our numerator, so we know our denominator is going to be 40. But notice, I cannot take 25 from 16. So I'm going to have to regroup. So in order to regroup, I don't have another fraction to look at, but I do have this whole number. And we know that a whole number is just a number that has the same numerator and denominator. So if our denominator is 40, we know that this is 3 groups of 40 40ths. So I can borrow a group of 40 40ths from this 3 to be able to subtract something from this 25. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out this 3. And so I'm going to have 2 groups of 40 40ths. So remember when we usually regroup using whole numbers, we only take a 10. But here we're actually going to take the whole group of our fraction, which in this case is 40 40ths. So I'm not going to just add 10 to this 16. I'm going to add 40 to the 16. So this 16 is actually going to become 56. So now I can take 25 from 56. Remember, you will not get counted off if on the side of your paper you show some algorithm of what you're doing. So you can easily on the side of your paper do this. 5 from 6 is 1, 3. So now I know that this is going to be 31 40ths because my denominator stays. Now I have 2 subtract. There is not a whole number here, so this will be a 0. 2 minus 0 would be 2. So right now, my answer is 2 and 31/40. But I'm not done. I still need to do this part here. So over here is where I'm going to simplify. And I simplify by finding the GCF, or the greatest common factor. So once again, a factor are the 2 numbers that you can multiply together to get that number. I am not worried about this whole number. I'm only worried about the numerator and the denominator. So I'm just going to write the factors of 31 and the factors of 40. So I'm going to start at 1 and work my way up with my numbers. So what can I multiply by 1 to get 31? Well, that's just 31. And then I'm going to say, well, can I multiply anything by 2? Can I multiply anything by 3? Can I multiply anything by 4? And so forth until I can't multiply anything else, or until I get to this number right here. Well, I know that 31 is a prime number, and prime numbers only have the factors of 1 and itself. So that's all the factors of 31. 40 is not a prime number, and I know it is not a prime number because it's even. So here I'm going to say, what can I multiply by 1 to get 40? Well, that's going to be 1 and 40. Can I multiply anything by 2? Well, yes, I can do 2 and 20. Can I multiply anything by 3? Nope. 4, yes, I can do 4 and 10. Can I multiply anything by 5? Yes, 5 and 8. And then I'll ask myself, what can I multiply anything by 6 or by 7? And both of those are no. So here I'm back to 8, which means I can't multiply anything else. I know this keeps refocusing because my hand gets in the way. I'm actually going to show y'all a picture of my setup for this. It's quite comical. I'm using one of Casey's trucks to hold up the camera so that I can do these videos for y'all. So I'll post that on Classroom so y'all can see my setup for these recording videos. We're very, very creative over here. So here, back to the problem. So here I want to find the greatest common factor, the greatest number that they both have in common. Well, 31 only has a 1 and a 31. So down here, I don't have a 31 at all. The greatest common factor is actually 1. But I know if I divide anything by 1, it's going to be that number, which means 2 and 31/40 is my final answer, and it cannot be simplified because the greatest common factor is 1.